The whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing has been yet another blow to my respect for a sizable part of the online left. I'm not talking about everyone on the left because many people are fine and reasonable. In fact, I like to think that most are. But a lot of people on the left are anything but fine and reasonable. There is just so much here that annoys me. First, we have the reductive explanations. Rather than discussing the idea that this could be valid self-defense, or rather than even discussing self-defense at all, many morons are just saying, "He murdered 2 protesters," and conveniently leaving it at that. This is so dishonest and reductive. This is a very complex self-defense situation, not some clean-cut murder. Anyone who pretends it is a clean-cut murder is lying to you or has been lied to themselves. If they are a regular person, they were probably lied to. If they are a pundit, they are probably lying to you. If they are not lying, they didn't do the bare minimum of research on this topic and should not be taken seriously. People are being reductive. This is a complex situation, and the reductive explanations are made more often than not out of ideological convenience. It is honestly disgusting, and it needs to stop. Some leftists are desperately trying to manufacture a narrative that justifies outrage if Rittenhouse is acquitted. Now we have the crying. Rittenhouse, as you all should know by now, had a mental breakdown type thing. Leftists are making fun of this, which feels a little weird to me. Convenient. The values go out the window in favour of spite. Some also claim the breakdown was fake. I don't know how anyone can possibly claim to know that. That claim is nothing but ideological actors interpreting things in the way that is most convenient ideologically. They see whatever they want to see. If a left-wing person has an identical breakdown, they would never call it fake. Some people say the breakdown was clearly false because of when it happened. Supposedly, he was fine through what should have been more triggering stuff earlier. You do realize breakdowns don't follow some completely rational logic, right? To the observer, they often seem completely irrational. You can't see in his head, and you have no evidence he is faking, so perhaps you should stop revealing yourself as the disingenuous fool that you are. These people are just ideological tribalists who see whatever suits their ideological side. Finally, we have the last disappointing left-wing reaction. The retribution. This is honestly pretty sickening. Far worse than the other idiotic but comparatively minor disappointments. Some people, a good number of people, actually want Rittenhouse to rot in prison for his whole life, to have the crap beaten out of him in prison, and in some exceptionally bad cases, be raped in prison. They rejoice in fantasies about a moron who is virtually a child suffering. How is that leftist? How is wanting people to experience unnecessary suffering leftist? How is being pro-rape leftist? When it is convenient, a notable chunk of the left is suddenly very fond of retribution, almost like they have no serious values. How is it okay to rejoice in the unnecessary suffering of people? Is it fine to want people to experience unnecessary suffering so long as they are conservative-leaning and make dumb decisions? Every single person who wants Rittenhouse to be beaten or raped is a person who can justify to themselves any cruelty, any blatantly immoral torture or brutality, so long as it is ideologically convenient. These people are bloodthirsty lunatics. They are an infection. They will rot the left from the inside with their fundamentally reactionary and deeply emotional glorification of unnecessary violence, retribution, and suffering. Forget values of rehabilitation and forgiveness. This all goes out the window whenever it is ideologically convenient. Spite and belonging to an ideological tribe come before having serious and consistent values. It is pathetic. If you have said the stuff, you need to stop. Once I would have been saying this garbage, but then I realized that spite and the desire for revenge is an emotional desire that an adult should be able to control, that a mature, decent person should be able to control. Values come before spite and vengeful emotions. If you want Rittenhouse to be raped or beaten, you have no moral right to condemn retribution as a concept. You love retribution, so long as it aligns with your ideological side. So long as it aligns with your vaguely ideological, valueless tribe. This valueless ideological tribalism will sacrifice any value when convenient, and it is dangerous. It is these people who have been responsible for the senseless brutality which has tainted leftist movements in the past and will taint them in the future. Grow up and stick to some actual values. Stop letting your politics be dictated by emotion and a desperation to feel like you belong to an ideological tribe. I think Rittenhouse made some really stupid decisions, and a tragedy ensued, but this narrative some leftists are trying to create about him being the epitome of right-wing evil or whatever is laughably stupid. Not to mention that even if he was the epitome of right-wing evil, that does not mean unnecessary cruelty is fine. I didn't think it was controversial on the left to say I oppose retribution, rape and torture, but apparently it is. Some people never cease to disappoint. Speaking of disappointment, I know some of you will probably be annoyed over what I have said. Although I would be very surprised if any of you, such people, even got this far. I am just consistently standing by my values, many of which are left-wing values. You should be doing the same. Instead, you have sold your integrity for ideological convenience.